This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and we have Headshrinker Alofa, aka LA Smooth, aka many, many things. Lloyd and Noah, the Samoan warrior. He's part of the Samoan dynasty. He's wrestled for ECW, WWE, all over the place. And December the 19th in Daytona Beach, Florida, you are wrestling for the North American Wrestling Alliance on their big event there that's also going to feature Gangrel, Davey Boy Smith Jr., Jimmy Hart, Kevin Sullivan with the Blood Hunter, and many others. You are the Qatar Pro Wrestling Champion. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right, Devin, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you, man. We go way back. December 19th, I believe it is, yes. And Daytona Beach for NAWA. You're going to see this guy and a lot of talent and on that show. And I'm just excited to be there. And people around Daytona Beach and wherever you come from, I suggest you come out and see this show because it's going to be a spectacular show. A lot of names, a lot of great people. I can't wait to be there and get in that ring and take care of some business.
I did put the ticket link in the description of this video, and I think I also pinned it to the top of the comments for anyone in the Daytona area, which from what I understand, it's only an hour or less away from Orlando. So people could come in from all over. It'll also be on the Fight app for Fight TV as a pay-per-view, from what I understand. Do you know your opponent yet?
No, that's something that I don't know, but it doesn't matter because once that bell rings, it's time to take care of business. I have my younger brother, Alpha Jr. He'll be there as well. So if things go down, I know I have somebody that has my back.
And for those who don't know, Alpha Jr. was Manu in WWE. Let's just talk about him for a second because I know him as well. I trained with him a bit. I thought he had a lot more potential, but for some reason they didn't give him like the Samoan gimmick. They gave him a gimmick that he didn't want to do, the Samoan gimmick, and he would just want to be treated like a normal person. And for whatever reason, it wasn't that long a run. Why do you think they went that direction with him?
Well, I think it was because if I'm not mistaken, Vince wanted to do more of like a second generation type, which was with my brother, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase's son. So it was more like a third generation thing that they were doing. So they try to stay away from the wild and craziness as we are and try to put them in that particular situation with the third generation, which, being wild and crazy didn't go with that character. So, but I mean, what he did there, he did great. I don't know why or what happened with the situation. I heard stories that it was Randy Orton that put brakes on the whole thing. I'm not sure, but I'm just proud of my brother for everything he does. And he's still around and, he's young. He's got plenty of time. And who knows, you may see him there again.
And not only that, but this North American Wrestling Alliance, this isn't going to be just a standalone event. From what I understand, the promoter is willing to invest in at least a handful of big events and see how things go. From what I understand, there's going to be like a Titantron type thing at the event, professionally recorded, aired on Fight TV. Some of the matches are even going to air at a later date on the Hannibal TV. So we wish them luck. They got some good names. You're the Qatar Pro Wrestling Champion. Let's talk about that for a bit because they put on a show with, unfortunately, Road Warrior Animal was involved, Eric Bischoff. Not unfortunately he was involved, but unfortunately he passed. Makes me sad to think about, but Davey Boy Smith Jr., I think, was also on that show. Yes. Seemed like it was very well funded. Could you tell us a bit about this Qatar Pro Wrestling, which I'm going to guess it's probably on hold right now due to the lockdown?
Yeah, it's like everything else on lockdown. hopefully next year it'll be opening back up, and we'll be able to go back over, God willing. But Qatar Pro Wrestling, I've been with them for many years, and before they even started doing shows in Qatar, the promoter was doing shows in other countries like Egypt and Kuwait. So I worked with him a lot, and it was just that show that we did, and I ended up beating. It was a four-way. It was me, Chris Robert, which is from Europe. He's like the Hulk Hogan of Europe, man. He's a great talent. Um, and Alberto Del Rios and Rob Van Dam. So I ended up beating Rob Van Dam and pinning him with the Samoan drop, and became out the victor, and came out with the title. But QPW is actually a great company. They bring in a lot of talent, a lot of big names. Like you mentioned, Davey Boy Smith Jr. was there. There were so many names there. Eric Bischoff, Rob Van Dam, Brian Pillman Jr. I mean, they were all there, and we had a packed show, and it was a great place to work in. It was a big building. I mean, the building was huge, but we packed up half of it, and it was great. I can't wait to get back.
Mike on here has a question for you. You're obviously related to Rosie, and he wants to know your thoughts on Umaga's death.
Well, there's really no thoughts about that, man. It's just I miss him. We all miss him, and it was just something that was sudden when we got the phone call about his passing. And it's kind of hard to swallow. All the time I think about him. We all think about him. And in the wrestling industry, he was a big name. I mean, everybody remembers Umaga. Everybody remembers, the Samoan Bulldozer. And he'll never be forgotten. Our family, we have the Oos shirts, and then we have the ultimate Oos shirt with his picture on it. And so many people buy that; they'll sell out left and right. I mean, can't even keep them in stock right now. So it's rough, but in God's will, He keeps us going, and he'll always be in my memories. I love him, man, and I miss him a lot.
Now, you're obviously part of the Samoan dynasty. From the time you were a kid, did you kind of want to follow in your father's footsteps and become a professional wrestler?
Yeah, I mean, I seen my dad when I was younger. I used to go to the arenas with him, and just it was in the blood. And when I seen those big checks he was bringing home, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. So I followed in the footsteps of my dad and my uncle and my older brother Samu and my cousin Rikishi and all those. They were in the business before me, and I followed. Eventually I knew I was going to get in the business, and I started at the age of 15, and I looked older. But I was in there at the age of 15 wrestling. I mean, superstars back in the 80s, like against Sergeant Slaughter, Kamala that passed away, God rest his soul, Junkyard Dog, so many names I had the opportunity to work with when I was young. And then going to work with WWE, I had more opportunities to work with a lot of stars. And being on the road with them was exciting. Back then they had the A and B teams, East Coast and West Coast. So, I was on the road actually beginning with no contract. They just put me on the road, and I was working, and I was happy at that time. I was young. So, it was a pleasure. And I'd like to go back and work for the company again, believe it or not, but I'd like to go in a different perspective, maybe like a producer or something like that.
Now, of course, your father, I think, is WWE Hall of Famer Alofa. He was known as a great trainer, trained guys like Batista, tons of wrestlers that became world famous superstars. Did he take it easy on you in the training, or was he just as hard on you as everyone else?
I believe it was harder. We were trained rough. My dad didn't hold no punches with us. He wanted to have us train the proper way and go out there and kick butt and take names. That's how we were trained. There was no taking it easy on us at all. But he did. A lot of superstars came out of our wrestling school, Wild Samoan Training Center, like you said. For instance, Batista, Gene Snitsky, My dad even helped Hulk Hogan years ago before he got into business. Junkyard Dog. I mean, there's so many names. Billy Kidman. There's just so many names that came out of our school, and we're just blessed that still have a relationship and great family, not just relationship, but like family with the McMahons to continue with our family working for the company and being part of the company.
And I've seen tons of pictures with you and Roman Reigns, who's of course related to you. What are your thoughts on all of his success? He's, in my opinion, the biggest star WWE has right now by far, that's on the current roster now that Brock Lesnar is not signed with the company and John Cena has gone to Hollywood.
Yeah, he is on the top of the list right now. I mean, he is doing great. And that's I think that's what Vince wants. He wants to make him another, not that he has to follow Brock Lesnar, but I mean, he's going to be another Brock Lesnar. I mean, he's people are going to have to go through him to get to the top. And the storyline they're doing right now with our family, with him and my nephews, the Usos. It's kind of hard to watch, but it's all going to make sense at the end, I believe. And he's making our family proud for sure. We had a great time. I don't see him much, but we did do the trailer for my other cousin, Dwayne Johnson, for Hobbs and Shaw. So I had a good time doing that, and it's always good to do things with family. And when this pandemic came, really everybody stayed their in their lane, stayed at their homes, try to quarantine and try to not get sick from this COVID. So it was basically just on the phones talking, how you doing? Hope you're doing okay, this and that. And now that he's back at work and, he's kind of, I don't know if you want to say high risk, but, with the leukemia and everything, he wasn't taking chances. He just had another pair of twins, boys. And, he was looking out for his family. So right now coming back, he's stronger, looks great, and Vince is ready to keep him on top and keep him going.
Jefferson has a question here. There was some teasing back when WrestleMania was supposed to be in LA this coming year, 2021, that we might see The Rock against Roman Reigns. I don't think they'll do it in Tampa, but do you think that could be something that might happen in the future? Maybe if in 2022 it ends up being in WrestleMania in LA.
That's their goal. What they want to do is in LA, to do that match. And if it does happen, and they'll probably want to do it next year, like they said. But the way things are going right now, and basically Vince, WWE is based out of Florida right now. They're doing all their tapings, all their pay-per-views out of Orlando. So if it did happen, most likely it would probably go to Tampa, and he would like to get this match done because people are asking about it. Like this gentleman asking right now, he's asking about it. People want to see it, so I think Vince is going to jump on it as soon as he can.
Rene Dupree, I see, is on here asking, why did Randy Orton get your brother fired?
Oh, Nay. I don't know, man. I don't know about that. You'd have to ask my brother about that, or maybe ask Randy himself. Renee's another one, man, that went to Qatar with us. We had a great time, man. I love that guy. He he sure knows how to bring the party alive. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's underrated, and I'm glad to see he just recently won the NOAH Tag Team Championships, but everything got screwed up with the lockdown, as we were talking about earlier. But I know there was actually some talk of him going to the North American Wrestling Alliance too, but something to do with the quarantine coming back to Canada. He didn't want to have to avoid seeing his family at Christmas. I'm going to be there covering it, though, so I'm looking forward to covering the event. I'm not a big Christmas person, so it doesn't bother me too much. Yokozuna was one of my favorites, and I know you spent a lot of time with him. Could you share us any memories of Yoko, who I don't get why he's not in the Hall of Fame yet?
Actually, They did put him in the Hall of Fame already. His
Oh, they
kids,
did.
yeah, they
WWE Hall of Fame?
his kids accepted the Hall of Fame, and my dad and my uncle were there. We were all there actually. But some stories with Yoke Dog. I call him Yoke Dog because me and him are close. We're all close. Like I said, our whole family is close. But he was just a special person, man. And I had the opportunity to ride with him in Fuji while I was on the road, and we had some great times. And I just actually just finished doing the documentary, the portion that they're going to be doing on him for WWE Network. It was great to talk about him, but at the same time, it was kind of sad to bring up some of the memories because you want those memories to come back, and you know that it's never going to come back. It's always in your, those memories are there, but you'll never be able to do them again. I'll put it that way. But Rod, his real name, Rodney, we had some great times, man. We had some fun with Uncle Fuji. There were times where we would just drive Fuji crazy. He would always drive, and he would just Fuji would get to the point where he would just start yelling at us, leave me alone, blah, 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 But Rod would always just joke, and in the locker rooms, he would always have his little boom box right in the corner and put his music on, and had his own little section in the locker room, and everybody came to see him, and he just plays his West Coast music, and that was it. He was ready to move and get his thing on. After, when he was ready to go out in the ring, he'd do it and come back out, and he was regular Rodney on the Hawaii. You couldn't mess with him, man. He was one of the best, and I miss him dearly.
Matt wants to know if anyone could beat Yokozuna at dominoes. I guess he must have been a dominoes player.
Yeah, he was good at dominoes. I don't know, man. I wish right now he was around so we can play some dominoes. And just to have him beat me, I would be happy right now. But yeah, he was good at dominoes, and it's kind of hard to talk about your family members that are gone, because you miss them so much, and like you said, you can hold on to those memories, but you just wish you can see them and talk to them one more time, and just grab them, hold them, and hug them, and that's something that I cherish and I always cherish.
Mr. Fuji is another Hall of Famer that's unfortunately gone. There's a few fans on here that are asking if you have any rib stories about him and if anyone ever got him back on a rib.
I never heard of anybody ribbing Uncle Fuji, Mr. Fuji. I know he's ribbed a ton of people, and I just thank God that I never got ribbed by him. I kept my distance. I've always respected him, but I never got ribbed from him. Let's know. One time I did actually. We were driving down the road, and you told him to pop a CD inside the. Because the CD player while we were driving, and of course Yoko, he wasn't too crazy about the music. He was like, "What kind of music is this? East Coast music." So he pulled it out, and Fuji took it, and then he just rolled the window down and threw my CD out the window. And I was like, "Damn, I worked hard to put that together," and he just tossed it out the window. So if you want to call that a rib, that was a rib on me, because that was my favorite music I was trying to play, man.
Ivan wants to know if you or your family are training Peter John Ramos, the basketball player, for pro wrestling. I don't know anything about that.
Peter, not familiar with the name, be honest with you. I think they're talking about the big guy from Puerto Rico. There's a big guy from Puerto Rico, Peter, yes. We're not training him. I mean, I've met him, and he's a big boy, man. 7'3". I mean, he walks through buildings. He can't even stand up straight. He's a big guy, man, and I know he knows a little bit right now. I know Hannibal Apollo from Puerto Rico. He's been helping him train, and right now I think he needs to get some more training, and we'll see. If we can help him out and get him trained and get him started, that would be great. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I remember Apollo gave me one pretty wild night in particular in Puerto Rico, which I'll keep secret for now. He was supposed to fight actually for Combate Americas when they were going to do that Puerto Rico show that got canceled due to the lockdown.
Yeah.
Are you surprised at that? Because I was thinking at his age to do an MMA fight when I don't think he was ever like an amateur wrestler or a martial artist. It seemed a little odd, but I would have watched.
Yeah, he actually used to be a pro basketball player as well when he was younger. He played for Puerto Rico and everything. And when he told me he was gonna, do some MMA fighting, I was like, wow. I says that's something you want to do. But he went to Mexico, got trained, and started training with some people with Alberto Del Rios, and then the manager guy in Puerto Rico started training him, and he was set. I mean, he was in shape, and I was looking forward to seeing him fight as well. But I think he's still looking to do that, and he's still training in Puerto Rico. And when everything opens up, and if he gets that opportunity, I'm going to watch him 100%.
Yeah, it's amazing how much MMA has grown because I remember when I lived in Puerto Rico, I really wanted to like train in MMA on my off days, and there was nowhere to train. But now, like, what, 15 years later, I mean, there's MMA training places everywhere. So it's amazing how much the sport has grown. Someone
Yeah,
wants to know, and this is a tough question, who was the greatest Samoan professional wrestler in your opinion?
yeah, that's a tough question because I consider my whole family great. But if you want to talk about greatness, of course, my dad and uncle, they taught us what to do in this business, and to me, my dad and my uncle will be my idols forever. I mean, uh, Yokozuna was great. I mean, everybody in our family, we've made a name for ourselves and made money in the business, and that's the way we're trained. You're going to go out there and you're going to make a name for yourself. You need to bust your ass and go out there and, you know, do what you got to do. And everybody, has been blessed to do that. So I would say everybody in our family is tough, man.
Rusty wants to know if you have any Peter Maivia memories.
I was young, I was real young when he was wrestling. I wasn't even in my teens. I just remember, him when I was younger. I never got the chance to, spend a lot of time with him, just when he was in the arenas or him and my dad got together. But not too much. I more have memories with my auntie, that was his wife. She ran the wrestling in Hawaii, and then she ran shows in the States as well. And she was just the greatest, man. But Peter was one of the best. That's another one. There's one of the best. Him and my dad and my uncle, they put Samoa on the map. People didn't know where Samoa was. They were like, "What is that?" They didn't even know it was an island. But when they got into professional wrestling and, people saw them and they were saying, from the Isle of Samoa, people were like, where's that? And I do believe that they put our island on the map so people know where we're from.
Yeah, I always remember when they would announce that, or of course, the Isle of Tonga for Haku, who we've had our ups and downs with, but overall, he's still he's in my top 5 favorite wrestlers. Any memories of Haku? Probably the toughest wrestler of all time.
Yeah, I mean, he's known to be one of the toughest in our business, in and out of the business. I just remember stories of them telling me in Puerto Rico, the stories that what he did over there. And it was just, as soon as I got to Puerto Rico, that's the things that I heard about it. Your Uncle Haku was over here and this is what he did and blah, 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 and it was just some rough stories, man. And he's tough. I mean, I'm pretty sure you heard the story about him and Jimmy Jack Funk, I believe it is. He wears a patch on his eye. He was one of the reasons why he doesn't have his eye, because I heard he pulled it out. You hear so many stories to what he's done in this business, but he's one of the best, and he's got a great heart. Besides people thinking him being, the way he is, and they said he's rough and tough. Yeah, he is, but he's got a great heart, and all his island boys, we're rough, but our heart is to help and uh, be kind to people, and that's the way we are.
And someone asked me the other day who was the most humble wrestler I ever met, and it actually was Haku. A lot of wrestlers have egos. The Samoans actually overall don't, compared to a lot of the wrestlers, but Haku is definitely one of the most humble guys I've ever dealt with. And as far as your Puerto Rico story, Haku told me he believes he still can't go back there.
Well, yeah, when you throw somebody through a window and then you got 12 cops on you, and he beat the crap out of 12 cops, and I heard the only way he stopped was when he put a shotgun in his mouth, and then he put his hands up. So if you get stories like that and things that happen like that, I maybe did not. He might not be able to go back there.
Yeah, I think he was lucky that they got him out of the. I know it's part of the U.S., but obviously to get him out of there, he was lucky, even though because the rules are quite different over there, obviously,
Yeah,
in the United States.
we both know that very well.
Rec 46 wants to know your thoughts on Gary Albright, who was one of the great wrestlers over in Japan.
Man, Gary. Whew. Gary's actually married to my sister, and he became part of our family. And it was a sad moment when he actually passed away right in front of us in the ring. That took a toll on me and our family, to witness that right in front of us. But Gary was one of the best. He, people don't know this, and if they do, but he actually beat both of the Steiners and Dr. Dusty Williams in amateur wrestling, and he was one of the best out of Nebraska. If you got hit with a suplex from Gary, you know what? You actually you were gonna have more than just your tongue in your mouth. You were gonna have your I don't know if you want to say it, but you would have your balls in your mouth too, because he would fold you like a pretzel, man. It's just he was unbelievable, man. And when it came to wrestling, I mean, him combining his amateur wrestling and wrestling together, he was unstoppable.
Noah brings up that you were in The Wrestler, which you were, along with Andrew Anderson, who is a friend of yours as well.
Yes.
I believe you were in one of the locker room scenes. How did you get involved with that, and what was your experience like in that movie?
Oh, it was good. It was great to work with Mickey Rourke. My dad actually trained Mickey Rourke for the movie. In the beginning, some people would know that, or nobody would know it, but it was actually supposed to be another actor that was going to be playing that role. But then Mickey took over, and he wasn't used to the wrestling. He was always involved in boxing. But when we started training him, he would blow up all the time. So my dad would try to get him to get used to being in the ring, taking bumps, hitting the ropes. And it was fun working with him. I had a couple times where I was able to train him and work with him, and then when we was on the set to be part of that movie, so it was great to do the movie and to work with Mickey.
And it ended up being a huge hit. Like, were you expecting that it was going to go down as like maybe one of the top wrestling movies of all time when you were making it, or was it kind of surprising?
To be honest, when it was getting put together, it was like, oh, it's going to be like a B movie, maybe, possibly, just the way it was put together, because they were running on a low budget. But when it was all together, the story just made sense. It's really basically about our wrestling business that we're in, and how it was and how they put it together. And that's what made it a top hit in the movies industry. And Mickey pulled it off correct. I mean, great. I didn't see him in the beginning wanting to do it, but he went through it. He followed through with it, and he enjoyed the training and everything. And for him to get in there and go out there and take bumps and do everything like we were, man, he did a great job. And after all, the movie was put together, it was awesome, man. I'm so proud to be part of it.
Steve wants to know what's the craziest thing you've witnessed backstage in ECW. Of course, you were LA Smooth in those days.
There's a lot of those stories that can't be told, but there was some crazy stuff. I remember the time where you remember 911. 911. It was called 911. Uh, but it was him and Taz, and I don't know what happened, what they were arguing over, but this guy 911, he's like what 6'9", 6 foot, almost 7 foot tall, and he just jumped at Taz. And you know how small Taz is, he's stocky, but he's small. And I said, oh my God, he's going to kill him. But Taz, man, he wrapped him up, and nobody even got involved. Nobody even touched him. Taz handled his business, man. He rock and rolled with him. And that was a crazy thing, because we all thought that Taz was going to get killed, but it was the opposite way around.
Have you seen a lot of locker room altercations over the years?
I've seen a lot in Puerto Rico. When I was in Puerto Rico, a lot of the guys not getting, along with each other. Of course, a lot of things happened because a lot of them didn't speak English. But I've seen a lot of crazy things with the guys over there. In the States, I've seen some few ones, but not too many. I try to stay to myself. I stay in the corner, and I don't bother nobody. I talk to everybody, and just try to stay away from the ribbing and the jokes and all that, because as you know, and in our business, when you get involved in that, they'll continue doing it, and then it becomes an issue. So thank God I never had a problem with anybody in the locker rooms, and didn't see too much really.
Yeah, I was ribbed in my Stampede wrestling days, but nothing in the Puerto Rico days. Could you share with us some of your accomplishments in Puerto Rico, because you're quite a legend over there, and some of the U.S. and Canadian fans might not be aware of that?
Yeah, well, I started after I left WWE. I went down, and my dad sent me down to Puerto Rico, and stayed down there. And I was only supposed to stay for 3 months, which ended up being close to 6.5, 7 years on and off. Until this day, if it was wrestling over there, I'd probably still be going over there wrestling. But I accomplished a lot. I've held the tag team titles over there 14 times, TV championship once, and had great matches with a lot of guys over there. And then Puerto Rico was like your WWE WrestleMania, because the fans over there are just crazy about wrestling. I mean, they're true fans. There have been times where I got bottles thrown at me, got hit in the head with wine bottles, cinder blocks thrown at me, and rocks, got cut on my arm, guns out. I mean, there's a lot of stories. People hear about the stories in Puerto Rico, and it's true, but that's just all about being and doing your job right. Because if you're a heel, and if you're doing your job right, you're guaranteed before you get to that locker room, you're going to get hit with something. And I know, Hannibal, for sure how it is when you're a heel over there. They'll tear your butt apart.
Yeah, and those damn pizza wrap things. They would throw those too. And
yeah, those penalties.
Do you think, we know WWC hasn't been doing well in recent years? I don't even know what they're doing now, but IWA was making a bit of a comeback before the lockdown. We know Savio's going to be appearing at Survivor Series. Do you think that things can eventually be resurrected in Puerto Rico, and what do you think they're going to have to do to reignite things over there?
Well, as you and myself, we know that wrestling in Puerto Rico is completely different. I mean, you got the wrestling in WWE, and over here in the States, where it's all about doing high spots and everything. In Puerto Rico, they just like it rugged. I mean, they want to see you beat the crap out of each other. And right now, it's became a spot show where the guys go out there and they don't even know how to interact with the fans. You know, they lost that touch that they had. They lost that the fans that came out and wanted to see true wrestling. So in order to get that back, I think they have to go back old school. You know, go back and be old school. Go out there and wrestle and give people what they want. Give them that rugged wrestling. Give them those blood matches that they always seen and stuff like that. I see the wrestling, you know, before it went off and, you know, see what they were doing. And it was just, they weren't drawing like they were. And it's a shame because that territory was on fire. And I mean, everywhere you went, we were selling our houses left and right. And to see it go down like that, I believe they got to go back and go back to old school. Definitely.
I think the last pictures I saw from a WWC show was last Christmas around, and they had Orlando, Eddie, and Carlito on the show, and it didn't even look like there was 100 people in the audience. And I know the economy is bad there too, but I hope things can get going there because I know when I was there for IWA, I mean, I was there when it was still going strong. You were there during a lot of the glory years, so it'd be nice if people could start making money again.
Yeah.
Steve wants to know your thoughts on New Jack, who I'm sure you've had multiple interactions with.
New Jack, that's my boy. But people are scared to work against him. They're scared to wrestle against him. We had some great matches in ECW. Me and my cousin and my brother, but me and Matt usually wrestled them a lot, which is Rosie. There was a time where New Jack, you know, they always throw in the can with everything in it. You know, fans bringing stuff, and they go over there and they threw the can in there and it hit me right in the head. Boom! I took the bump. Next thing you know, I get up and New Jack's running at me in the corner with a porcelain lamp, and this thing is solid, and he hit me in the head. Boom, man. I mean, he splattered all over the place. And he looks at me like, oh my God. He goes, sorry, bro. And you know, he didn't see any blood. There was no lump or anything like this, but I knew he was going to get a receipt back. So we started fighting outside, and next thing you know, we were in Reading, Pennsylvania. I'll never forget it. It was Damian King's had an arena down there back then. And I hit him so hard with a forearm, I put him through the wall. He went through the wall. So therefore, I'm like, he's stuck in this wall and he can't get out. So I said, what the hell am I going to do? So I went over there and I just ran right through the wall and made it bigger and grabbed him. We started fighting. Next thing you know, we got in the locker room and Paulie was screaming. He was like, what are you doing now? We can't come back to the arena. You broke the wall. So that was one arena that we couldn't go back in because we just tore it up. But New Jack's, he's all right, man. I mean, he's rough. He takes this business real serious, and he snaps on things real quick. If you disrespect him, you're bound to get hurt.
And there's a fan on here, Matt, that wants to know if you have any Paul Heyman stories, speaking of ECW.
Well, that was one of them. I mean, but Paul, he was like the Vince McMahon of ECW. I mean, he's got the brain, and he's the one that actually made ECW the way it was, Extreme. There was my brother and them could actually have more stories with Paul when he managed them in WCW as the Samoan SWAT team. I've heard a lot of stories that they did to him and the ribs that they pulled on him. But Paul is one of the best, if not about the business, you know, coming up with ideas and doing things. He's like I said, he's like Vince McMahon, man. They're both great businessmen, and I've had the pleasure and opportunity to wrestle for ECW and work alongside of them. And matter of fact, this year, in the beginning before the pandemic, that's when he was in charge of Raw. I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with him, and he was pushing big time to get me back in the company because, we go way back with our family, and he just, he loves his Samoans. And I know right now he's in a great spot with my cousin Roman and what they're doing. And I'm pretty sure he has a lot to do with that.
Now, I know you're Offa's son, so you're probably going to be treated differently than a normal wrestler, but Who was worse for pay issues, Paul Heyman or Carlos Colon?
Never had any problems with Paulie, believe it or not. Never to this day. Never. He's always he was always good with the money for me and for any of us. There was really no issues. Maybe with some people, I don't know if it was. I've never heard of any problems with the money. But with WWC, there was some issues with the money. I mean, we all went through it. Especially with Javica, he was the money man. So, every time you go and if you weren't getting paid, you'd like come to the office Tuesday, and then Tuesday would make it to Thursday. And that's what happened with, WWC, and that's what gave it a bad rap because everybody was going out there working. And then next, when it was time to get paid, there was no envelope there for you. So
or they write you a check and it doesn't cash, and then they write you another one for half the amount and say they're going to catch up.
Yeah.
Never do.
Well, that was one of the things that I never took a check from that company. And I learned that before I went there. So I never took a check, but I did wait sometimes for my money. But the good thing about it is when Dutch Mantel went down there and he became the booker, we had no problems getting paid. The money was there because the houses were jammed and they couldn't get any excuses that they didn't have the money because you could see with your eyes we were selling out. So the money had to be there. And, at that time, they made sure that they were taking care of everybody. But there were some times where, it was a little iffy. But for the main part, not to put WWC down, I enjoy it. I enjoyed working for Carlos Colon. I look at him as like a second dad almost because I spend a lot of time around him. And, they always play the heel and babyface, him and Jovica. And, I had a certain thing, with Carlos where I can speak to him and talk to him because we had a good relationship, because of my family, him knowing my dad and my uncle and everybody. But that didn't have him make me change and treat me like different from anybody else. If I wasn't getting paid, I wasn't getting paid. But, I made sure I had that good relationship with him. And I went out there and busted my butt. And that's what he liked the most. I went out there and did what I had to do to help the company and draw some money for him. So he tried to take care of me as best as he could.
There's a fan on here that wants to know if you've ever wrestled in Lowell, Massachusetts, which I'm sure you have.
Yes. I was down in Lowell, Massachusetts. 2019, maybe around November. Around that time.
I know WWE used to do tapings there as well.
Yeah.
Point. Catch Wrestling Dojo says, do you remember what happened in a TV studio in Egypt when you happened to almost kill your best friend?
That person asking you right now is Chris the Bambi Killer, Robert, out of Austria. And he's a good friend of mine. He's like my brother. And man, why has he got to bring this up? We were in Egypt. The promoter, he passed away. He was one of the first Egyptian wrestlers from Egypt. His name was Mamduk. I forget his last name, but they call him Captain Mamduk. And he had a TV program over there. So he bring me, myself, Chris Robert, Michael Kovacs, and a few other guys from Europe over there to do the TV show because we were going to have an event over there and I was going to wrestle against Chris Robert. So we went over there and I was supposed to hit him with a chair, or actually there was a garbage can there. And the guy was like, well, the garbage can's right there. You use the garbage can. But I said, no, I'll use this chair. And when the time was right, when I went to go hit him with the chair, I accidentally caught him with the edge of it. Didn't mean to. And split him wide open. And he's bleeding like a hound. And next thing you know, I kicked him in his ribs. And, I thought everything was good. I was excited. The people were going crazy. They rushed me out of there. They had to lock me in a room because the Egyptian people were trying to get to me for what I did to him because he's a babyface. Then all of a sudden, I get back to the hotel and I go and knock on his door to see how he's doing. And I'm smiling and he's looking at me and he's like, what the hell's your problem? I'm like, what? I said, it was great, right? He showed me his head, and he was split wide open. I mean, he needed staples in his head, and then I had kicked him in the ribs, and I still had my boot mark on the side of his ribs, and I felt so bad, man. You know, I didn't want to do that, but you know, when you get in the moment and after the moment, and you get in, you know, especially on live TV, you went over there, and I just was a little bit rough. And Chris, I love you. I apologize. I know I'll never live that moment with you, but I love you, Bubba, and you know, I apologize for doing that, and we're still friends and brothers to the end.
And that brings us to a question from Steve. Have you ever legit fought any wrestlers? That might be the closest you came, I guess.
Yeah, actually in Puerto Rico, I'm pretty sure he passed away. It was a gentleman out of Miami. Trying to think of his name right now. It's been so long. But he was a Navy SEAL. I think he went as a Navy SEAL. He was actually a shoot Navy SEAL, you know, in the Navy, and he's a good friend of Fidel Sierra's, and you know, he came down to Puerto Rico, and you know, he was tough, but I wasn't going to take it from him, and we went at it, and yeah, actually, Carlos and you know, WWC back then, you know, they got kind of upset because we went at it, and there was to a point where every time we got in the ring, we almost tried to kill each other until we came to an agreement, and you know, we talked and we, you know, did business the right way. But he was probably the closest that I came to where, you know, me and him went at it toe to toe a couple of times in the ring, and they had to come out and break us up. I mean, shoot, legit break us up.
Yeah, how did they explain that? Breaking up a wrestling match.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the people loved it, but the office wasn't too happy with it. You know, I mean, they've went through it plenty of times before, but I guess they were just trying to prove a point and set an example and let us know that, hey, do business the right way or you're gone. And you know, we did business the right way, and everything was fine after that.
I remember one time at a stadium in Puerto Rico, we had to break up a wrestling match, but it's because the match was so phony that like we had to stop it. So all the baby faces and all the heels ran out, beat them up, and then ended up just having a big brawl out of nowhere. And I'm sure the fans didn't understand like what the hell was going on, why the entire locker room was emptying out for an opening match. But the match was just absolutely brutal. There's been a few questions on here. What was your favorite match you had in WWE when you were wrestling over there as one of the head shrinkers?
Well, at the end, me and my brother were doing Headshrinkers after he got off TV and all that. But when I was with WWE, I was on the road, and I had some great matches. Some of the best were with X-Pac when he was 1-2-3 Kid, and Marty Jannetty. We had some great ones on the road. Actually, me and Marty Jannetty got in a lot of trouble because we would always go over the time limit, thanks to him. And you know, they would mostly you know, yell at him, but you know, he was the veteran at that time, and but I had some great ones with him and you know, X-Pac.
Speaking of Marty, I've had him on a few times. I actually really like him, but obviously he's going through some issues that we hope he can get resolved. What do you make of this this murder stuff? Is he just drinking too much, or do you think there's some legitimacy to it?
I don't know. It's hard to take because this just popped up out of the blue. You know, there's, you know, all these years, you know, Marty's always Marty. You know, he's going to do what he wants. But I don't know if this is something that he said and then they made it bigger than what it was, and he's going along with it. I don't know. I don't want to put him in that predicament. I don't want to say that he did it, but I love Marty. I mean, he's a great guy. Just that, you know, he's fighting his demons and everything like a lot of other people do, and I just wish him the best, man, and I love him to death.
Did you have much interaction with Pat Patterson? Someone wants to know.
No, not too much. Just at TV tapings, but back then, when Chief Jay Strongbow was in charge, God rest his soul, I mostly dealt with him and Sergeant Slaughter at that time when I was there. But Pat never gotten any issues with him. He was always in the back, played his role, did what he did. Everybody listened to him, and that was it. I never had a problem personally with Pat.
Jackalope Music says that The Rock is the GOAT to him. In your opinion, who belongs in that conversation? I think The Rock, personally, is
Yes.
untouchable, the most successful wrestler of all time. I don't know if anyone could ever touch him.
Yeah, I mean, look what he's doing. I mean, he's done how many movies? He's one of the top, highest paid actors right now in the TV business. Plus, you know, his career in wrestling. On top of that, yeah, I mean, he's one of the top right now. I mean, there's no doubt he's involved in everything. He's got his Terramana tequila out. He's got his earbuds. He's got everything with Under Armour. He's got so many projects out there, you know, that he's involved in, and also, you know, with foundations and everything. He's on top of the world, man. He's one of the best right now. There's no stopping him.
McEvoy Productions wants to know about your experience on Hobbs and Shaw.
Well, doing that the trailer for it, you know, we did it in New York, and it was for actually Briss T. There was a gentleman that won the opportunity to make the trailer for it. So we did that in New York, and it was funny because me and my cousin Roman didn't even know we were both on the same you know, production thing that was going on. I got all the information, and I got the paperwork, and I'm looking down at it, and I see his name, and I asked the producer, I said, so who's going to be playing my cousin's role? Because I didn't know if he was going to be there because they were overseas at that time. And he goes, Roman's going to be here. Hopefully he's going to be flying in. And so, okay. So then I guess the guys, you know, the limo picked him up from the airport, and the producer that was with him, they said, oh, we have two Anawa'is on this paper. And he goes, let me take a look at it. He goes, oh, that's my cousin. And then when he walks through the door, we both look at each other, and he's like, he goes, why didn't you call me? I said, I didn't even know you were on the set until yesterday when I did wardrobe. But it was fun doing it. I mean, it was great. You know, for Briss T, and for the people that did see the movie, you know, right before the movie, they showed that trailer, and then they went right into the movie. So it was fun working on it. I just hopefully next one I can be involved in his next project he's doing. You know, when he does one, and who knows, maybe I'll be the next Rock. You never know.
Well, I actually read they're going to do he's doing another Scorpion King.
Yeah, he's doing quite a bit of movies. He's actually just finishing up on the Red Notice that's on Netflix right now. And I got a couple of projects actually myself going on. I'm going to be doing a movie once England opens up. Myself and one of the headbangers and Gene Snitsky, we're going to be part of that movie. And then I have another one that's going to be shooting in Utah called 6 Feet Under. That's more like a thriller movie. So I'm looking forward to doing those. And I just did a trailer for, actually not a trailer, I just did a casting for HBO, which is Ghost. So I'll see what happens with that. And I'm looking forward to doing more. But I'm just happy to be a part of these and, you know, get some more movies underneath my belt.
You wrestled a lot in the UK. You actually got me booked there back in 2008 for a couple of months. Any memories of wrestling over there? Riding in that van for Brian Dixon has got to be a pain for you at your size.
Well, they always put me in the front, and of course, because I wasn't fit in the back, but there was always three. The car that we had at that time, there was three that fit in the back, two in the front, and I mean that was jam packed right there because it should only been two people in the back seat. But they always jammed us in a small car, and I was on the road a lot over there with T.J. Wilson and you know, Daniel Bryan. So that's when I first met them over there, and they were just starting in business. They were in the business for a couple years or so, and we traveled up and down in England, and I mean 8 hours, 12-hour rides, you know, doing all the Butlins, and you know, then on Tuesdays, of course, off. And it wasn't the day off because actually when you went there, it was the only time you could really hit the gym or work out or do whatever you had to do. And then the next morning you were out on the road again. So, but I had good times over there. I mean, working for Brian Dixon was fun, but it was crazy at the same time.
Yeah, it's hard to explain the butt lids for Americans and Canadians
Yeah.
because we have nothing like that, but they're an unusual experience for sure. And there's
But when
huge
you got,
crowds at those Buttland shows.
yeah, I mean, they have the big crowds, but when you got like over like 1,000, 1,500 young kids screaming, man, it sounds like about 10,000. But it was fun. They enjoyed it, and Brian, he's a hard worker, man. He's a cheat, but he's a hard worker.
And there's a lot of crazy stuff at the Butlins bars. What I remember is like kids were allowed in the bars, and like I'd be like half drunk at 3 a.m. and see a little 4-year-old run around and be like, "Am I imagining this?" But people have a little different view on stuff like that over in the UK.
Yeah.
A
Or
few
actually, you're sitting there having a beer, and you got a 13-year-old sitting next to you drinking one with you.
Yeah, and they'll drink them on the street and in McDonald's too, and nobody really says anything. So it's more common over there.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I learned my lesson to eat at certain places over there because, man, the first week I was there, I got sick to my stomach. I was like, I could handle anything, and I went to eat fish and chips, and from that point on, I was eating rotisserie chicken, and I was wondering why TJ and Brian, where they were sitting in the back, and they were always drinking, half a gallons of milk. And I'm like, man, you guys drink a lot of milk. He's, yeah, it keeps us full. Well, then I knew a reason why, because that was something that would keep them full because they didn't want to eat the food. So every time we had a chance, it was either go to the get a rotisserie chicken and eat cans of tuna fish, or when we got to the Butlins, they had a McDonald's. You were guaranteed to have McDonald's and eat the fries, and that was going to be okay. But I got sick the first time, and I was scared to eat over there, believe it or not.
The thing I didn't like about the McDonald's and Burger King over there is they don't make the double Big Macs or the double Whoppers or the triple Whoppers.
Yeah.
So you got to buy like multiple burgers, and it gets so expensive.
Yeah.
There's been a few fans on here that wanted to know if you had any stories about Vince or Shane McMahon to wind things down here.
No, I mean, just watching Vince do his thing, man, is just it's an experience itself. I mean, once you see him come out of gorilla position, or if you see him come out of his office, something's going down. So stay out of his way. But I've never had any stories about Vince with me personally or with Shane. I've always got along with Shane. We're around the same age, I believe. And it's always been fun to be around Shane. He's like one of the boys. That's why, they put him in that position, wrestling and all that. He always wanted to be a wrestler, I guess. And he's fun to be around.
And last fan question I'll ask you. Thank you all the fans for your questions. Is Shay Harrison wants to know the origins of the LA Smooth name.
Well, it's funny because we had to come up with names for ECW. So my brother came up with Sammy Silk. Matt came up with Matty Smalls, and I was trying to think of a name. I'm like, man, what can I come up with? So, my name, Lloyd Onawai, so I put the LA together. So I said, son, let's put something on there. So that's where I came up with LA Smooth, and that's what we use the names for the Samoan Gangster Party.
Well, I am a big fan of Los Angeles. I'm going to be back there the first week of December. So you're always a cool guy in my books. And the North American Wrestling Alliance, Saturday, December 19th, the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, the same building where Hulk Hogan turned heel when he turned his back on the fans. What's it going to be like for you wrestling in such a historical building? I mean, AEW's done a pay-per-view there. WCW ran there all the time. Kevin Sullivan was actually in the first main event ever there, and he'll be back. So it's going to be a pretty cool night.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And like I said, for the people in the Daytona area, Daytona Beach area, you got to come out December 19th. It's going to be off the chain, and it's really going to be a jingle rock because you got so much talent there, and it's going to be great. It's going to be on Fife TV. It's going to be starting at 7 o'clock, so get there early if you want to get your autographs in. You want to come meet some of the wrestlers, you know, myself and all the top names that are going to be there. I mean, get out there and get your tickets now. Get them soon, because when you see everybody out there, and it's going to be a hell of a show. NAWA, you know, I've wrestled for them years ago, and I'm just happy to be back working with them and having a long, you know, relationship with them and going and working shows. And I can't wait for it. It's December 19th, Daytona Beach. You got the Samoan coming in the house.
And just to give people a little bit more taste of your promo skills, could you close this off with a promo on, you don't know who your opponent yet, but whoever it is, what can we expect to see in that match?
Well, it doesn't matter who it is or what time or what match or whatever, but I'll let you know, whoever you're going to be, you got a rude awakening, because you got the Samoan beast, Alofa, LA Smooth, that's going to be in the building. And when you get in the ring with me, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, because I'm going to hit you with the big Samoan drop, and that's going to be it. Done.